Hello, hello, good evening. My name is April Starks, and I am the lead training partner and counselor here at Olive Tree Resources. It is the first Tuesday of the month of June in 2022, and we are here today to engage in our Power Parenting session. Every first Tuesday, we come together with a topic. I'm going to start putting those particular videos on the YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the channel so you can get notification that those videos have been uploaded, and you can join us live or go back and watch the replay to engage in the topic. Please comment. I love to hear feedback from parents. So that we're supporting each other. The power parenting is essentially for parents actually who have teenagers, but the information can apply to any age. And power stands for parents overcoming with wisdom, education, and resources. That gives us power. We can overcome when we have those three components. We have the wisdom from our life experiences that we have encountered, things that we have gained, we have gone through. We also have education. That's why we come together. We talk and share information, and we gain from different avenues and places that pour into us as parents to encourage us and give us insight, because we always say there's no cookie cutter process to this thing, and every child is different. So even when we have our first child, we have to educate ourselves about our next child and the next child, or however many children you have, that time's over. Educating yourself on ways to better serve and to allow them to grow and mature into the people they are supposed to be, the young adults and the adults, and then moving on to even probably parents themselves in their future, that we are enhancing their lives. And then resources. We share resources with each other. People who may know things in your local area, sharing that information. It may be some things that is not necessarily local. It may be something that we can all share on the power of the internet, of course, so we can share resources that we found on the internet, and places that do various services virtually. That can be a really good tool for us to share in the resource portion of our discussions. But today we wanted to come and talk on a topic. You are raising an answer. That's our topic for today. You are raising an answer. And this particular topic was inspired by a coach. His name is Coach Davenport. He is the men's basketball coach at Bellarmine College in Louisville, Kentucky. This year was their first year playing at Division I level. They have been awesome for numerous years now. He has built a phenomenal program. So this year they had the opportunity to move up to Division I and did a great job at that level, winning their conference, also having an opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament. And I believe there was some technical things there that didn't allow it to fully come into fruition, but they were well deserving of it. And I heard him speak last Thursday, June the 2nd, at my daughter's 8th grade award ceremony. And I was inspired by his talk. And basically, he allowed these 8th graders that were moving on to high school, these teens, he was encouraging them with a topic: you are an answer. You are an answer. And typical of a wonderful, motivational, charged coach would do, he commanded the auditorium, the gym that we were in. He commanded the room with all of these people, and there are hundreds of people. And these students gave him full-fledged attention because of his passion that he spoke from, as well as just even the posture he came in of authenticity and genuineness towards them as an older gentleman, basically seemingly like passing the torch to the next generation. And so it was really inspiring for me to hear that as an adult, for someone to encourage our young people, including my daughter who was sitting there, to recognize that they are an answer. But there was one other point and component that I thought should be added on, and that's why we made this topic for today for the parents, is that you are raising an answer. So yes, they are an answer. And there are things that they will begin to learn whether your child is 12 in the preteen area, 13, 14, or they may be 17, about to turn 18, and you're like, oh my, they're about to leave the nest, or they're about to go off to college, or they're starting their career, or they're wondering what to do. Recognize that they are an answer. And if you are a parent that's watching this and you say, I have some younger children as well, they're not quite at the teen level, these particular things that we talk about when we come together will help you even be prepared more as they're moving up into those age levels. I think it's important for us as parents, and you all can let me know if you agree and where you are in this thought process. But we have to be very strategic to understand each one of our children because they're unique and they're different. And one thing we're going to talk about one time is even the real colors model. We're going to talk about that, and hopefully some of the parents will want to take the assessment. I'm going to offer that for you all so that we could talk about personality differences. I recently watched, and this is also carrying over to what Coach Davenport was talking about, it's on Netflix, I believe. Yes. David Letterman does special series with different people that he wants to talk to. And he had a sit down session with Kevin Durant, who is an NBA basketball player for the Brooklyn Nets. And something KD doesn't say, Kevin Durant doesn't say very much. But I thought some good points were brought out in that discussion that he had with Dave. He says that he gets along with, and some of the best coaches are those who can manage personalities. Those are some of the best coaches. They can manage personality, especially on the NBA level when these individuals have gone through high school. Many of them, there's just a few that go straight from high school to college, but many of them go to college. They enhance their skills, and then at some point they get drafted to the professional league, the professional level. But they still have to be coached. They still have to have a leader to help strategize what the team is doing, where we're going. And so even with that speech with Coach Davenport, that was so inspiring for our young people and should have hopefully hit a lot of the parents as well in the room. You could feel the energy in the room and the passion of our future is depending upon this next generation. And we as parents have the great privilege of raising the answer, raising them, coaching them. And I want to talk about that transition that happens in adolescence and how we go back later and watch the video that talks about your teen is no longer your baby. And I know that's a tough one for a lot of people, but we have to really embrace that, that our teen is no longer our baby. Yesterday, my daughter sent me a picture. She replicated a picture of her from 8 years ago. She was sitting on the mascot of the high school she's going to. So she was probably about, I don't know, 6 or 7 or so at that time. And then yesterday, when she was at the school for her first day of summer classes, she sit on the same mascot and took a picture and sent those to me side by side. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's no longer my baby. So the same things that I try to encourage us as parents, hopefully you all are encouraging me too, that she is no longer my baby. And so there has to be some shifts. There has to be some transitions into coaching, managing personalities, because now in adolescence, they are starting to mature into themselves. They are starting to explore more of what that personality is, blossoming into that. And flexing. So not just blossoming, they're flexing into that. And sometimes we hear that in tone and response and action and body language because they are evolving. They are an answer, and we have to manage those different personalities as parents. We have to coach them during these times. And when we come together, our goal and hope is that we are building the teen parent connections for our parents and our families when we talk and come together. I am not exempt from this. I have three children. Some of you all know I have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 14-year-old. My older children now, I'm more of just a mentor. If they need me and they want to say, hey, what you think about this? I'm here for them. But I still have one in the nest that I have to coach. And this is a very integral time for her to be coached. And and you watching this video may be in the same state right now that you are transitioning your parenting style, because now you have to coach your child and recognize that they are in an integral stage of adolescence. So, as we are transitioning to coaches, we are managing those personalities. What are some things we need to look for? What are some things we need to talk about to make sure that we're recognizing that our child is an answer? Ponder that for a moment for yourself. You know your child better than anyone. What are some things that you need to start doing? And I'm going to share a brief story with you. When my oldest son was younger, um, I I was a selfish parent. I started out a very selfish parent because I had certain goals, ambitions, and I was just tunneled into what I wanted. And so, also, I was so locked into what I felt like my life should be or would be, that I'm going to have a kid at this age and this age, right? And when it didn't happen, it wasn't good. I didn't have a good attitude about it. And so I was very stuck into myself. And I remember when my son was probably about 2 years old, um, walking around pouting and feeling like, woe is me. Oh my goodness. It's not supposed to go this way. And this is hard. Because then by then I had my other son. And so they were kind of like twins. We're raising two, toddlers. And it was pretty difficult. And so I had to sit down one time and really process the fact that it wasn't about me. And last month we talked about parental pride. If you were able to join us then, we were talking about parental pride and how sometimes we have to humble ourselves as parents to recognize that when we do have children, we have to connect. We have to connect to them and their growth. And sometimes that takes not losing ourselves, because I always encourage parents to make sure that you maintain your goals in some sense, in some way, and pace that into your parenting as well, that you don't lose yourself, because at some time they're going to grow up and they're going to leave the nest, and then you're going to wonder, who am I and what do I have to do? So we have to balance that. But recognizing they are an answer. When I sit there and looked at my oldest son, I really honestly got humbled, because I just felt in my heart that there was something great about him, and that I had to make sure that I nurtured that. So this is my point one for today. One of my points for today. I just have a few. Are you able to see your child as God sees your child? You have to ask yourself that. And if at the moment you've never thought about that before, this is when we just have those quiet times to ourselves and we begin to evaluate and say, am I able to see my child as God sees my child and what they were born to do? And the mere fact that you are raising an answer also states that you are an answer, that you were graced to carry this child, to birth this child, and to raise this child up to the point that they are now, the age that they are now, just shows that definitely you are an answer as a carrier and a nurturer of that child. But now transitioning your lenses to see that they are an answer as well, and that they are growing up into those things that they are supposed to be and to do. So we have to keep the connection, but at the same time, shift our role, shift what we're supposed to do. And that's what the coaching comes in at. Like I was telling you about Coach Davenport, and then even what Katie said about the best coaches are able to manage personalities. They're able to manage the people's skills. Now, our children are upgrading. So as they move into those teen years, they're upgrading. So the example about the professional sports players, They are not where they're exempt from coaching and they still need coaching. We're not saying that our children are exempt from accountability, that they're exempt from boundaries and consequences. Please keep those. Please keep those so they can learn um, those aspects of life for sure. And what does that look like for you, too? Another question: accountability, boundaries, and consequences. Those 3 points for yourself. I'm pausing for a moment so you can think about it, because we're overcoming with our wisdom, education, and resources. So we're going to talk about that. Helping your child become an answer includes accountability, boundaries, and consequences. How do we shape that and balance that? Very important for us to do that because they are an answer. And so we have to make sure we nurture and mature that in them. Another question I have today: what does your teen gravitate to? What does your teen gravitate to? Think about that. Maybe jot down some notes for yourself to see what does your teen gravitate to. If you just sit back and watch and you evaluate their day to day, and I'm not just talking about like the video games or maybe even my daughter. She's always on TikTok. I'm not thinking about that because that's just probably just put in the category of leisure um, pastime type of things. But what do I see that she's good at? So recently, I was examining her and I see how she's very, very good with money and she loves money, of course. What team doesn't? But she's actually good at it. Like we have her counting all the time from just business perspectives and her maneuvering, even her checking account, her maneuvering when she sells certain things. She already has somewhat of an entrepreneur spirit in so many ways. Her aspect of budgeting, she told me recently, she said, well, Mom, I was going to purchase something that I really wanted, and it was $15, but I only had $16 in my account, and I knew that it would only leave me $1. And so I said, well, I'll just wait until I build up my pot. So just to have that consciousness of that, I was like, I took note of it mentally. So that's what I mean. Like, think about things that your child does that you absorb and you just hold it in the back burner. Let those things come to the forefront for you so that you can begin to nurture those. So make some notes of what do they gravitate to. Then secondly, you're going to say, how can you nurture that? How can you nurture that? So as I mentioned, when I see some different things that she's doing, then we, of course, allow her to count when it comes to like business, helping us with business stuff. Hey, count this for us. Make sure you categorize and make sure you noting and record keeping of this to show her that. How can I nurture that from her points of emphasis? One thing that I thought of recently was I'm going to start doing more things to get her into like banking. And I mentioned that to her. I said, hey, you might want to consider, just think about it, exploring banking. There's so many things in banking that you can do, but start to think about it. And let's start researching and exploring how we can nurture that part of you that you're really, really good at. So think about that for your child. How can you nurture that? And who can support those areas? So make some notes of individuals that can support the areas that you feel like you have pointed and observed from your child, and those things that they gravitate to, the things they're passionate about and they're good at. Who can you pull in to help support those areas? Very important. We need other people to help us. It's just not us. Then lastly, where can you put exposure on that? What are some things and avenues you can begin to move them into so they'll have exposure to different areas? Very important. Exposure, exposure, exposure. And we say that all the time because that is the key. If we don't give them exposure, they will not know what is available. Don't let them settle for, oh, I don't like that. Have you ever tried it? No. Well, you don't have exposure to it. Just try it one time and then you can honestly say, I don't like that. I have no desire for that. As parents can also ask the question, how can I support you? And that's something that we can start to move in for our teens, especially at the age that they're at, to build that connection for us. Ask them, how can I support you? And I know it's a hard question for some parents because they feel like I'm in control. I'm in control. I had a teen actually text me the other day, and was pretty upset because they felt like they weren't able to express themselves because the parent replied, "Well, I'm in control." Granted, this teen is almost 18, and so that was very heartbreaking for her because she's trying to venture out, blossom into, as we mentioned earlier, flex into who she is, and for those shackles to be placed back on. And sometimes it's just our language as well. Um, when they get kind of to that age, you may even want to watch that tone and that demeanor of I'm in control, I'm in control, I'm the parent, you do as I say. And sometimes it's do as I say and not as I do, which that makes it hard for teens as well. So we want to also model, but then we also want to ask that question, how can I support you? How can I support you? Yes, we know ultimately you're going to make the decision. Like, that's something we don't necessarily have to flex in as parents. Children know that at the end of the day, if they're still under our roof and we're still caring for them pretty much 100%, then we're probably going to somewhat lean towards our guidance of what the situation should be. But it's always good. The older they get, you want to give them more questions. Why? Because they are an answer. You are raising an answer. You are raising the answer. And the only way that they can start really accepting for themselves that they are an answer, to Coach Davenport's point in his speech on last Thursday, when he said to those students in that school, you are an answer. Many of them had those question marks. I am? What does that mean? Okay. We as parents and them in our nest and our environment help them explore that. And one way to help them explore that is to ask the questions. Ask the questions so then they formulate answers. It intellectually stimulates their brain. It allows those gifts and those different callings that are within them to begin to come to the surface because we're digging and we're making them think. And even if they don't have the answer instantly, pose the questions, allow them time to think, grow, let it maturate for them, let it break up some ground that may be trying to hinder the growth of that seed coming forth. And then they will know that they know for themselves that they are the answer in some shape, form, or fashion, because they really, really, really are in some way. They are an answer. And so we have to really, really get that into our minds as parents, that we are raising an answer. So that makes you special, mom, dad. Thank you so much for raising this next generation and being a steward of what God has placed in your care to help them to grow up into young adults and to make it through the adolescent stage, which is one of the most difficult times of life, I would submit. And we have to help carry them through. And not as a baby. I have to change it real quick because I don't want to get no conflicting thoughts. Not as a baby, but to help carry them through that process by even walking beside them and coaching, managing that personality set, managing those passionate desires and things that come out of them, management, coaching that, training that. That is so important. And we are here at Olive Tree Resources. We one of our missions is to be that training partner for teens and families. And so hopefully any way that we can assist through the programs that we offer, the Teen Life program, which is a leadership development and mentorship program, or even through some of our counseling sessions. If you do not have your child in some form of counseling session, please allow them to at least explore. what that looks like, so that if at any time they need it, it's not something that they feel is a taboo, that they feel is unnecessary, that they feel is a threat for them, but that they'll feel comfortable towards it. And the first way that we can do that and help them recognize that it's okay is to offer that exposure for them. And we will be happy to do that. Here at Olive Tree, we turn no teen away. Our rates are very budget friendly. We have modest means as well as pay it forward programs for those who just essentially do not have it at all. That is okay. Do not allow money to be a factor at all, because it's not. We make sure that our teens are cared for. And if you would like to enroll them in the Teen Life program, you can visit our website here on the screen. And just on the homepage, there's a link as soon as you go to the homepage, and it says registration for Teen Life. Hit that. Take 2 minutes and fill out that form. And every teen that is a participant of the Teen Life program receives one complimentary counseling session a month, just to check in, even if they don't need it. It doesn't have to be, a lot of people think it has to be something bad for them to go to a session. No, it could be that you're just going and maybe share some great news that has been going on. But a check-in, a mental health check-in is always important. And that's available for every single teen that is a part of our program. So please consider that, or share that with someone that you know needs a resource to help them as they navigate this time of raising an answer. That will be beneficial. Lastly, as we close, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to start trying every time we come together, the first Tuesday of every month. I'm going to leave with a wisdom point, an education point, and a resource point. And today, our education point is to know your child is an answer. That's one thing in wisdom that we have to just own and accept that. And wisdom, by definition, is a quality of having experience and knowledge and good judgment. And I know that each parent that is viewing this and will view this recognizes that from our life experiences, wisdom tells us that, yes, my child is an answer. Somehow, some way, my child is an answer. So we have to walk in that wisdom and make sure that we're permeating that type of energy and vibe towards them as they grow up. We want them to know that from us first, and then anyone else coming and telling them that there's something, that they're XYZ. We want to be the one to pour into them that type of life. Essentially, that's what it is. We're pouring into them life. Our education point is research or areas that will mature your child. By them being an answer, it's important that they're being matured in those areas. And education lends that for us as parents. And so we want to continue to educate ourselves. And if you need assistance, please reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help with that part of research for them, especially if they're in the Teen Life program. We want to make sure that our teens have adequate information of areas of interest. And then lastly, my other point, I guess, got deleted. Yes, it did. I was going to share that with y'all, but it's the research part. And that is resource part. Point is the last point. Is to find different resources. Summertime is a great time for us to find resources that are out there to help them gain that maturity that we're wanting them to gain, and for them to gain more confidence in different areas as they are growing and maturing. Yesterday and today, you may have seen it, but CNBC was really promoting the boom and the blossom and the surge going on right now of teen workers in the workforce. Basically, they said that teens are our answer to this economic crisis that we're encountering, and they're enlisting. Different companies are getting smarter and wiser. Listen, they're using wisdom, they're using education, and they're using their resources in the marketplace to say, what can we do to help with what we have going on? Wisdom says, all right, we have to do something, and we have to realize that our young people are an answer. So if they're starting to pick up on that, how much more us as parents to know our children are the answer. And I just thought it was really, really good. I have a couple articles up here. One thing I'll do is I'll probably just share them as well on our Facebook page, so you can look at those articles. But if you just Google CNBC and put teen jobs, it will show you the articles and even the news replays of the stories that they were playing as of yesterday and today regarding that surge of teen employment, and different businesses recognizing that they are the answer, and they're beginning to provide that education piece for them, to train them and to help mature them, and the resources, paying them, what they're worth, not trying to undercut them and pay them less because they're teens, but to pay them good and give them flexibility, so that they can still be teens and enjoy their summer and take vacations that they need to take, but still being that avenue of growth for them, because they're the answer. They are the answer. So thank you so much for joining today. And if you have any questions, please contact us. If you have any comments, please put it in the comment section. And we'll be happy to connect with you, because our goal is to make sure that we're strengthening the teen-parent connection here at Olive Tree Resources, and making sure that our young people are prepared for where they're going, and to uplift our parents, because we honor parents. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for what you're doing to help nurture and to protect and to provide for your child. We will talk to you next month in July, the first Tuesday in July. We'll see you then. Have a great remainder of the month.